Animal Crossing is unique among Nintendo's franchises. It doesn't have a point. There's no set end point. You just play for as little or as long as you like, and once you've had your fill, you move on to something else. And for nearly 20 years, that formula has worked out very well. Players have fallen in love with the idea of simply living in a world filled with animal friends and going fishing, catching bugs, and shaking trees to make money. In fact, if Nintendo released an Animal Crossing with only minor changes from New Leaf, I'm sure most fans, myself included, would be happy. But there's so much new stuff in New Horizons, it almost feels like an entirely different game, at least at the start. New Horizons begins in a way unlike any previous entries in the series. Instead of moving into a small town, you're quite literally on a deserted island. There's nothing there, save for some trees, rocks, and Tom Nook's newly installed small tent, which is where he does his business for the opening part of the game, and where you'll go for residential services. And what an opening it is! It's easy to forget, but New Horizons is the first Animal Crossing game to be playable on your TV in 12 years, and in HD no less. It is such a beauty, especially when you consider that we went from this to this. The minute I set my eyes on this game in the comfort of my own home, I was floored. Playing Animal Crossing on my TV, just as I did in 2002, felt like returning home. Sure, I've been playing the series across its iterations on the DS and 3DS, but I've long been yearning for the series to return to the big screen. There's something about playing Animal Crossing on my TV that just feels so much better than playing it on the go. I would play for 20 or 30 minutes at a time in New Leaf. I can play on the Switch for several hours without feeling any fatigue. It's not just the fact that it's on a bigger screen either. This game is gorgeous. The way leaves sway in the breeze, or the way the water reflects in the sunlight just made me happy. Animal Crossing is by design visually simplistic, but this is the apex of the original's design. I'm honestly unsure how Nintendo could further improve on Animal Crossing's graphics without completely changing the art style. New Horizons' beauty doesn't stop at its visual presentation either. Like its predecessors, New Horizons plays a different track every hour after you've upgraded your island to a certain point, and each one is absolutely wonderful to listen to and relax with. I'm particularly taken with the afternoon tracks, but it's hard to pick a favorite because all of them are just so good. I find myself overusing the camera app on the new Nook phone because I love looking at the incredible scenery on my island, and I've only just begun customizing it even after nearly 3 weeks with the game. For those weeks, I've been getting up every morning, selling the stuff I caught the night before running around the island collecting resources, checking in with my villagers, hitting rocks with my shovel looking for bells, then finally diving into my Nook phone to look for ways to earn rewards points in the form of Nook miles. And it still feels fresh even after weeks of repetition, because the world is always changing and there always seems to be something new to focus on. The Nook phone is arguably the single biggest change in Animal Crossing history. You can do so much from this device that it's kind of crazy. Before I started playing, I wasn't sure if I'd like having a smartphone in a game like Animal Crossing, but the functions they've included make so much sense. You can, for instance, start up a single console multiplayer session from it. You can view your Critterpedia, which contains lists of every fish and insect you've caught. You can summon what is undoubtedly Mr. Rossetti, though he's never shown, to save you from being trapped, and you can earn Nook miles, which I'll talk more about later. Like any good smartphone, the point of the Nook phone is to give you the information you need quickly, and it definitely achieves that. I love this little device so much that I would buy one if it was a real thing. From its first moments, Animal Crossing New Horizons lets you know that you have full control of your haven, from its layout, which you choose before you set foot on the island, to where you and your villagers live. Every house and building, save for Tom Nook's tent, is placed by you. The villagers will hand you their tents and ask you to find a good spot for them, and later on, as your island develops, Tom Nook will put you in charge of finding plots for new resident homes, and even further along, you start to profit off villagers moving to your island in the form of Nook miles. Nook miles are an integral part of New Horizons. They're kind of an achievement system, keeping track of your progress through various goals and challenges, and rewarding you with miles that can be used to purchase a ton of different items, like pocket expansions so you can carry more, or more mundane stuff like furniture, t-shirts, and DIY or do-it-yourself recipes. The new DIY system is basically Animal Crossing's version of crafting, and it's gargantuan. You can make loads of different pieces of furniture, tools, and even items used to craft other DIY materials like workbenches. And if that wasn't enough, you can eventually unlock the ability to customize the items you create using customization kits, which can unsurprisingly be purchased from Tom Nook. I'm usually not a fan of crafting mechanics, but New Horizon has made the process simple enough that it's enjoyable for me. I love these new additions. They do so much to make your time in Animal Crossing feel meaningful. Whenever I'm wandering around my island, I look at my Nook phone to figure out what I could do to snag some quick miles, especially after unlocking the Nook Miles Plus program, which adds 5 bite-sized objectives with extra miles added. I'm addicted to collecting those extra miles every day. While preparing this review, I got pretty sick, and honestly I'm still recovering from it, but I still dutifully logged in every morning to check on my island and complete my Nook Miles Plus objectives. There are some changes, however, I'm a bit more mixed on. In New Horizons, instead of just your axe being able to break, all of your tools can break. So far, I've unlocked the second, stronger tier of tools, and while they don't shatter often, they don't last a long time either. I don't really have an issue with them breaking per se, but I wish there was a way to tell when they were about to break, so I could plan ahead and have a replacement ready. Otherwise, I'd have to run home or to resident services to make a new one using the workbench. It never felt like much more than a mild inconvenience, though once I unlocked the ability to create stronger tools, I did find it annoying that I'd have to craft a flimsy version of the tool in order to use it to craft a better version. It's a bit cumbersome. I would have liked it if I had the option to craft both items at once, as long as I had all the required materials. Speaking of which, the fact that you can craft means that you'll have to gather a lot of materials on a regular basis. Now, instead of just hitting rocks to try to find bells, I'd smack them hoping for an iron nugget or some clay, or I'd take my axe to trees to knock loose a few different types of wood. Shaking trees now yields branches in addition to terrifying encounters with wasps, and having these on hand can be really important, as from time to time you'll be tasked with gathering materials for public works projects for your island, like building a new bridge or housing for incoming villagers. When I first started playing, I focused on selling everything I could to make as much cash as possible. It doesn't feel good being indebted to Tom Nook, and I wanted to upgrade my tent to a proper house after all. That left me at a major material deficit when it came time to help build homes so we could get more villagers, though fortunately, there is a solution for this: the Nook Miles ticket. With a Nook Miles ticket, you can visit a random island with different flora and fauna. What you find on those islands varies, and they're much, much smaller than the island you live on. But if you're low on supplies like I was, they can be incredibly helpful. And since you won't ever revisit each of those islands, you can do whatever you want. Destroy rocks, dig up trees to take home with you, steal flowers, and generally cause mayhem without consequences. You can also find random animal villagers also visiting those islands. And if you like them, you can invite them to come live on your island, too. There's much more to Nook Miles than just those tickets, though, such as clothes, wallpaper, shoes, and more. But there are also some really helpful things, like inventory expansions. Inventory management has always been one of Animal Crossing's weak spots, but the pocket expansions really help, especially combined with the revamped house storage function. Think of it as a virtual closet. I'm also a big fan of the new tool ring. You can redeem a small amount of Nook Miles for it early on, and it adds up to 8 tools in your pocket to a circle-shaped quick select menu. It's an absolute lifesaver when you're being chased by wasps, especially since they'll inexplicably wait for you to choose your net, buying you precious time to capture them. The old method of selecting left and right on the D-pad works too, but once you have the tool ring, it becomes useless. The only minor gripe I have about this new tool ring is that those tools still take up precious inventory spaces. 8 inventory slots is a lot to have to keep free for various tools, especially before you get the pocket upgrades. What's even more baffling is the new magic wand item, which allows you to change outfits on the fly, stores the outfits in the wand itself, meaning you free up tons of inventory slots. Inconsistencies like these are probably one of my few complaints about New Horizons. At times, the game can feel incredibly streamlined, while at others it can feel as though little has changed over the last 18 years. Dialogue options are still a weak spot for Animal Crossing. Accidentally selecting the wrong item leads to having to retread the same text with a character over and over again. An example of an oddly annoying dialogue choice comes up when assessing multiple fossils. Blathers can assess them all at once, which is great, but if even just one of them is already in the museum, he won't take any, forcing you through his dialogue again in order to donate them. Why not give us the option to let him take only the ones he doesn't have? It seems like a simple choice. These types of design decisions confuse me and made me like my museum trips a little bit less, but none of them hampered my enjoyment in any meaningful way. And I know what you're asking, but Steve, what about multiplayer? As of this writing, online multiplayer still isn't working. I was told it's in a day one update, but I'll post an update once I've had a chance to try it out. For now, I've been able to try out the 2 other multiplayer modes, local wireless play and the local co-op play. Let's start with the latter. When you play local co-op, each player controls a villager with a single Joy-Con. One player is designated as the leader, and the camera follows that player around as the rest of the crew helps them do things. Playing this mode can be kind of fun, but if you aren't the leader, you're severely limited in what you can do. You can't gather items. Anything you pick up goes in the island's recycle box too, to be collected by the leader later, and you can't use your Nook phone. Local co-op play is fine, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Given the Switch's portable nature, I never really considered leaving it docked and sharing it with others. It's such a personal device to me. If you leave your Switch at home in the dock at all times, then maybe this would be a good option for you. In practice, it worked well, but having multiple people in my house playing in my village on the same console doesn't really fit with how I use my Switch. I much preferred local wireless for a myriad of reasons. Having 2 players running around on one Switch was okay, but it felt like a watered-down version of local wireless, which is pretty close to the experience you'll have in online mode from what I understand. I absolutely love how New Horizons handles travel this time around. When someone is coming to your island, you'll see an adorable splash screen that tracks their flight progress. I have a personal sense of ownership and pride in my island, and I'm thrilled to show it off and visit my friends too. Once your friends arrive on your island in local wireless, they're free to explore as they see fit and can basically treat your island as their own, and vice versa if you're the one paying someone else a visit. You can break rocks, uproot trees, catch fish. If there are special characters in town for events, you can even get the same benefits from them, like DIY recipes or the opportunity to buy special items. I greatly prefer local wireless to playing with a single Joy-Con, but I do wish I could limit what my friends could do on my island, which appears to be an option in online play. If you're a huge Animal Crossing fan like me, you might notice some things are missing. Not everybody is a fan of island life, and depending on your allegiances, your favorite villager might not be here. My favorite happens to be Rover, and he's not in the game, and I'm heartbroken. The easiest way to confirm this, if you have the appropriate amiibo or amiibo card, is heading to Harvey's Island and scanning it for Photopia. Amiibo support in New Horizons is a little weird. If you scan a character in Photopia, they'll appear to take a photo with you, and you can have up to 10 on screen at once. But if that character isn't in the game, you'll receive a message saying they can't join you. However, you will then be able to buy a poster of that character whether the amiibo is supported or not. I was sad to see Cap'n and Mr. Rossetti are effectively missing in action, but the exclusion of Rover, the cat that first introduced you to the world of Animal Crossing on the N64 in Japan and the GameCube in North America, broke my heart. As someone that's been playing since the beginning, I hoped Rover would be in every mainline game. At least, that's how it appears to be. It's hard to say with any degree of certainty what isn't in the game. After all, Animal Crossing games are designed to be played for months or even years, and despite my best efforts, even after having played the game for nearly 3 weeks, I haven't uncovered all of what it has to offer. In that time, I've logged over 100 hours. I've played on 3 different Switches to see what I'd find, and I'm confident there's still more out there to discover. My museum isn't full, and I haven't even come close to collecting every piece of furniture or clothing. To do that, I'll need much, much more time. I haven't yet dug up a single gyroid, but I refuse to believe they aren't in this game. They're so loved, I just can't imagine they were excluded. It just feels like too big of a change. Sure, Lloyd the gyroid that helps you build things is there, but the furniture-type gyroids remain missing in action, which is insane. I haven't yet had the chance to play through an event like Bunny Day or Toy Day or anything, but they're supposedly handled quite differently in New Horizons in that they're added as downloaded updates throughout the year. I really like this approach since it means Nintendo has the opportunity to make each year's holidays look different. Of course, I don't know if they'll do that, but it's really nice to think about. I have, however, played some minor events. Whenever a new shop or public's work project is completed on the island, Tom Nook will host a small ceremony. Or on your birthday, your villagers will throw you a surprise party. They're intimate, heartwarming, and made me love my island life so much more. This seems like a good time to talk about what hasn't changed. As you build up your island, it'll become something more recognizable to longtime fans. After a little while, Blathers shows up in a tent, which will turn into a proper museum before long. After you upgrade your island, Isabelle will appear to help you out and basically run the show. Once you get your first house, your villagers will follow suit. And as you complete even more objectives, you'll gain the ability to pave roads and even change the physical landscape of the island to make it feel less like a deserted island and more like a village. The Island Designer app is one of the most difficult things to unlock in New Horizons, and it's absolutely worth it. I got it just a little bit before recording this review, but I can already say I'm in love with it. You have to purchase the licenses for landscaping and waterscaping, which allow you to build and destroy cliffs or bodies of water respectively for 6,000 Nook miles each. But once you have them, it's hard to imagine life without them. Being able to make proper roads makes my island finally feel as though it's completely mine, and I can't wait to unlock all of the different road types. I have to take a moment to mention just how much I appreciate the new mechanics for decorating your home. If you push the down button on your left Joy-Con when you're indoors, you'll move into an interface in which you can freely rearrange your room without having to push and pull everything around. It's kind of like a more modern take on Happy Home Designer's system, except you use traditional controls instead of the touchscreen. If you want to grab a group of things, you can just hold R and select them all to move them at the same time. In previous games, I used to find decorating my house to border on tedium, but now I live for it. I love changing my place up thanks to the new controls. Initially, I thought I'd dislike the island feeling more like a traditional Animal Crossing game. I've been playing this series for 18 years after all, but I found the opposite. And it's because of the sense of ownership New Horizons gives me over the terrain. You can change just about anything about your island at any time, provided you have the bells to cover the cost. Once Isabelle shows up, she'll help you move your house or that of another villager if you want. You can even move the museum or the shop. Because I have this level of control, I never feel like my island is complete. Because I'll always find a layout change I want to make, stairs I want to add, a bridge I want to build, and just when I'm done, I'm sure I'm going to want to change it all again. Also, because my island started out without all the trappings of a typical Animal Crossing game, I have a sense of pride over how developed it is. There's a flag because of me. That little tune that plays before anyone speaks is because of me. The houses are there because I helped build them, and that Nook and Go is there because I helped them expand. In that sense, everything on my island feels like an achievement, so while the trappings are familiar, the way they impact me is completely different. In a series like Animal Crossing, that familiarity is, to borrow a word from John, cozy. Seeing Blathers blanch at the sight of a bug is still funny. Getting presented with an outrageous bill by Tom Nook or buying new threads from the Able sisters is like returning home after a long time away. Every time I caught a new fish or dug up a fossil, I couldn't help but smile. And that's the best way I can describe Animal Crossing. It's a game that makes you smile. It makes you smile when you make villagers happy. It makes you smile when you find something you haven't found before. It makes you smile when you see a present floating through the air on a balloon. And for me, it makes me smile when I introduce it to someone who hasn't played it before and they fall in love with it the same way I have. If I haven't made it clear through this review already, I absolutely love Animal Crossing New Horizons. It takes the concepts pioneered in the original and reinvents them in new ways that make it feel like a completely new experience. I've been playing for weeks, and I don't see anything that will make me stop anytime soon. There's still so much to do, see, and explore, and I'm excited to see what my colleagues and friends have done with their own deserted islands. But most importantly, I can't wait to introduce Animal Crossing to my friends that haven't played it yet. New Horizons, by far, is the best entry in the series. The introduction of objectives means I'll have something to do every day, even if I'm just checking in, and the fact that weeds now yield a fair amount of money means that even if I slip, returning feels a lot easier. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, online functionality wasn't available in time for this review, but I've played enough of New Horizons to know that it's a great game regardless. That being said, it's important to me that we paint a complete picture of the game, so as soon as we're able, we'll be publishing a shorter review focused strictly on Animal Crossing's online multiplayer mode, so make sure to check that out when it arrives wrapped neatly with a bow and tied to a balloon. Thank you so much for letting me tell you all about my island life in Animal Crossing New Horizons for the Nintendo Switch. That's the end of this review. Make sure to stay tuned to GameXplain for much more on Animal Crossing. Check out our Animal Crossing inspired shirt at our shop down below. Make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell to be the first to know when our new Animal Crossing videos go up. And I'll see you next time.